want to move over to our discussion of content management systems. So a CMS stands for Content Management System. And I know that you guys are going to forget this, so I'm going to make sure that I make a point of it. Every job that you go to, every internship, somebody's going to say, oh, we use WordPress. Do you know our CMS? And you need to say, yes, I do, or I'm somewhat familiar with it. And just know that a CMS is the term for all of the different systems that are the back end of somebody's website. And it stands for Content Management System. So different management systems might be WordPress or Squarespace. Those are two of the biggest companies and the back-end systems for many, many websites. And there are simpler web builders, and you can, of course, build a content management system from scratch. But these are the services that we're most familiar with. And I just want you to, think through where these come from. So WordPress and Squarespace have thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of users. So there's a lot of good support. If you started a website and you were trying to figure out exactly how to do something, the benefits of, paying for these, but also using these two systems is that people have probably already encountered those problems, and there's a lot of searchable support. Some of the simpler web builders aren't quite as robust, but they might be things like Wix or Weebly or Joomla. There are blogging platforms that do some of the same things, Blogger and Medium, and many others. So any one of those could help you launch your own personal, digital system, whether or not it's a full website. But I would say that there are some that have more tools for archiving stories, for social media management, for for selling materials, for emailing and that type of thing. Wix, Weebly, Joomla, Blogger, and Medium are a little bit easier to start with because it's kind of a drag and drop device where you need to know a little bit of code to effectively use WordPress and Squarespace. But I would say they're the most robust. And all of those use those basic code languages that we talked about last week, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And then they use a host of other coding languages, which I haven't even talked about. And they might be things like Python, SQL, Ruby on Rails, Java, C++, PHP, and other languages that enable you to create a lot of more interactive sites. So I want to just think through what a content management system does for us. So if you had a WordPress site and you had launched the site, if you wanted to start a new post or post a story, you would look at a back end that is probably something like this. You would add a headline. You could start to type in your text, and you can make the type bold or italic. Some of the simple markup language is a lot like Microsoft Word and different programs that we have used. You can insert a link, and all of those things are kind of in the basics. Or you can, go into more complex HTML. So you have that option of either a visual perspective that shows you bold and Roman and that type of thing. HTML is going to be more like this raw code where you would be able to see what is going on behind the scenes. Like a block quote would allow you to type something in, and maybe it takes on the perspective of several different quote styles. So the back end of the system doesn't look like much until you hit preview or publish. And then you start to see what the final product will be. This is the back end of Canvas, which is a learning management system, but you could also maybe call it a content management system. So when I start a new assignment in Canvas, I'm going to be able to post a video. I'll give it a headline. I can make things bold or underline, add a link. I can put in text. I can post things that you can download. So all of these things are, close to what you will see when it's published. That's putting in a link. And then I can view it as HTML editor, and that will pop up here in just a moment. And that HTML editor will show me all of the variables of coding, like how those bullets are put in. And I often go back and forth, and this is what the coding language actually looks like. So, it's not very often that you're going to need to code something absolutely from scratch, because you can use some of the different tools. But this is, really the back end of all of these systems. A link to an image, a link to a video. So just consider that every place that you go work, you're probably going to have to become familiar enough with the back end of their content management system so that you can update a photograph or change a headline, or maybe add a video or change the color behind something. So that CMS becomes pretty crucial. Oftentimes you'll see code like this that will allow you to get a specific pull quote. It might start out like what it looks like on the left and end up to be something that looks like on the right. And when you are sitting down to start your website, you're going to choose a template. And depending on the service that you choose, you can scroll through and see a whole variety of things. And maybe you've input some content, you want to change your theme. A lot of it will adapt to the new theme, but it can get kind of complicated. A lot of themes are free. And here's something I want you to look for whenever you're going to start a website. I want to make sure that you choose a theme that is responsive. And a responsive theme means that it's going to work equally well on a desktop and a mobile phone and across the different platforms. And the format will automatically adjust to fit. So you don't want to end up with your website showing up on a mobile app where you can't see anything and you have to pinch and scroll and zoom. And a responsive site automatically changes it so that if you turn your phone vertically or horizontally, it will adjust. And you basically just update it in one place, and it works across all of the different platforms. So here is an example of a responsive design. So this is what this website looks like on a desktop. And it's based on a grid system, 4-column grid. And when it is viewed on a phone, that grid will actually automatically adjust so that these elements become different grid units, and it kind of collapses. And you can go back and forth and you can update it in one place, and it works across all the platforms. And it is a big mistake to choose, and I did this one time, it's a big mistake to choose a theme that is not responsive, because you end up with something that just doesn't work well across devices. Okay, so that's a term I'd like you to have in your vocabulary.